Well, hi ho, folks, and welcome back to the adventures of Turwinkle, the Gnome Mage. Well, hi, Turwinkle.
Hi there.
Are you all set for tonight?
Sure.
Well, great, because as you can see, we are in the tram, the Deep Run tram here, and we're in the aquarium section. And why are we here? Well, we're here to talk to Wisperi, or Whisper, and of House Winterscar, or that's what they used to be known, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But we're here to talk about her and all about her RP. And so without further ado, and it looks like Nessie's not here right now, but I'm sure she will make her appearance as well. Without further ado, let us go and find Whisper. So we'll be right back when we found her. Alrighty, folks, well, we found her, and we have, now is it Whisper or is it Durin?
Well, the tune's name is Wisperi. This tune has a lot of names. I have about 15 MRPs on her because she takes a lot of different disguises as she goes. So right now, she's Durin.
Okay, so we have Durin, underbody, gee, Christmas. Okay, well, we have Durin here, underboss of Sorrow's End, Brawler's Pub Management, nickname, as she just mentioned, too many, answers to none, her, underboss of Sorrow's End. And how do you pronounce that again? Is it Wisperi?
Wisperi.
Wisperi of the Nightfall, level 90 human rogue, currently doing boss lady things, and reactionary role player, we'll get into that as well. RP, yep. And an MRP tester. Well, excellent. And so, folks, when we come back, we're going to be taking a look at Durin's MRP. So we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, folks, and we have Durin's MRP here. And we're going to be looking at her appearance portion. And it's really well written, and I really enjoyed reading this, and I think you folks will get a kick out of this as well. As we already covered some of these items, so we will continue on with the description. And so right at the top here, we have a website, and is that a picture of Durin?
No, the website at the top is actually our link to our reactionary RP explanation. A little bit more of an explanation other than the oath that we have underneath.
Oh, okay, and okay, so is that what this is the oath underneath it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me read this, folks. It says, I am a reactionary RPer. If I have OOC concerns/limits, I will whisper you, but until then, I will react to the world around me as my tune would react. It's alright to be wrong, be confused, and make mistakes, I see. There's no need to whisper me OOC unless asking permission for something. Just RP, leave it, I see. So explain that a little bit. Explain reactionary RP, if you would.
Of course, it's something that a lot of people we've noticed on the server are not used to. We've run into it a couple times, but for the most part, a lot of people write stories very differently, and they like to RP. There's lots of different RP styles, which is great. That's what makes it fun. The way that our guild RPs and a lot of me and my friends, as we've gone through the RP world, we do reactionary RP. So unless we have certain limits that would completely break our characters that we feel is not a justified action or anything like that, we pretty much leave everything icy. We just react to anything that happens. So anybody that walks up to us, we will take everything that they do seriously. A lot of people like to whisper each other and create stories as you go along, which is great. That's fine. But most of the time, we don't need that extra OOC to function. So if something happens to our tune, we are not the people that are going to whisper you as like, why did they do that? But what's going to happen now? We try to leave that completely out of it so that it's all just a story that plays out as it goes. If somebody walked up and punched my character in the face, I am never under any circumstances going to whisper them and ask why they did that. I'm simply going to react to it. There could be very good reasons why they did that, but that's for my tune to find out. That's not for me to know.
Okay, well, excellent. And I love that. I think that's a great way to RP. Uh, again, I think that what that does is it makes, I think Azeroth come a little bit more alive and a little bit more immersive. Do you find that to be the case?
I do. There's a lot of situations that great surprise stories have come out of a lot of these things. There's several characters, one specifically, a friend of mine, where they've gotten jumped ICly, whether it was they were the actual target or not, and things happened to their character that changed their character, whether they lost an eye or a limb in the fight, anything like that. That's just something that happens. Um, if someone, just for example, because I already used it, somebody jumped somebody and they were paid to kill someone specifically. Well, if you happen to look like that person, but you're not, and you got stabbed incorrectly, that still happened. That's not something that we're going to recant or take back because it wasn't the right tune at the time. You were there, so it happened. And a lot of great stories have come out of that. A lot of surprise things. One in particular that happened not too long ago um, involved the Haythons, and Lady Haython actually ended up ICly bartending in the Brawlers pub um, as a sign of goodwill towards Durin and the guild because of something that one of her guildies did. And we kept all of that IC. So I mean that was something that would have never happened otherwise if we would have talked to OC and explained why things happened, because then our characters would have reacted differently because of our OOC knowledge, which is not how we like to play. Like I said, it's not a bad way to do things. It's just not how we do it. So there's lots of different RP styles. This is just the one that we found works the best for us and is full of surprises.
Oh, great. Again, I just love that whole concept. I think it's a really fun way to RP. So, excellent. And so when we come back, we're going to cover a little bit more of Durin's MRP. So we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, and we will continue with the MRP. And so we have down here, again, Wisperi. Is it Aries Durin?
Yes.
Yes. Boy, Turwinkle's just horrible with names. Now,
That's not an easy one. It's not easy.
it says if you can see her face, it does not look like the one in this MRP. And so we'll get into that a little bit more here. It says no matter how fast the light travels, it'll always find that darkness has gotten there first and is waiting for it. There's only two truths to be found here. First, that time is chaotic, always in flux, and completely malleable. And second, perception does not always dictate reality. And so, where did you get that quote? That is interesting.
Well, the first one I don't remember. The second one, that's an NPC quote from the game in Caverns of Time. When you first step into Caverns of Time and you're doing that quest chain, that's what they tell you in the very beginning of that chest queen quest chain. That's that's what they tell you when you step into the Caverns of Time,
Oh,
and that's
great.
somewhere where she has spent a lot of time ICly, and I absolutely loved it. The moment I read it, I was like, it's perfect.
Yeah, Blizzard did a good job there. Okay, it
They
says
did.
love some good random RP walk-ups welcome. Excellent. Then that's always fun too. Number of living people that have seen her face is half a person. Okay. Number of living people that know her real name are 0. Okay. If she is in leathers and looks like she might be ready for a brawl, then her headpiece covers all of her head. I know it doesn't in the game, just trust me on this one. Her face is also painted beneath it in intricate patterns. Small and very well toned. Her lower half is noticeably muscular, very compact, almost sickly yellow eyes engulfed by an even more pale frame. A clean sliced scar about 2 inches long drips down her left cheek, and there is only one visible scar. Should you catch her without cover, which is never, just letting you know, to say curiosity. Most of her body is enveloped in a treated thick and dark leather that hides any tattoos and scars that may be present beneath it. Among the leather is dull metals woven mainly about her bracers, belt, and boots. Oddly silent work, mostly hidden. People are afraid of the unknown for good reason. More often than not, a blade is moving in some fashion about her person. Despite her mood, the flat, disinterested pull at her words never seems to fade. People do not change. They temporarily and shallowly adapt. The same goes for the one before you. Although the dry seriousness of her overall presence mutes her core intentions, the primary one is to entertain herself mainly. She is on the hunt. No, not for you. Someone important. Oh, I get that. Wearing one of her many faces. Who's this one? What noise? I didn't hear any noise. Can you see me? You should probably run. We'll scroll down here a little bit. And hobbies and skills you will see. Throwing, roof running, and light on her feet. And so that is all wonderful stuff. Now, how long did it take you to come up with this stuff here?
A lot of it has just been added as I go. Some of it's very, very old. This RP tune, in particular, was my very first baby from way back when I logged onto a server and went, "What's RP? How do I walk?" I didn't know I could walk in this game. This is the first one I made from back then, so I want to say that she's maybe 5 years old, around there. I'm not sure I remember exactly. But a lot of it has been just added to. I haven't changed a whole lot from her from the beginning, although she has definitely grown as a character. A lot has been added to it though, but her basic core character has been the same.
Right, and it's very descriptive, and I think it really highlights who she is in the game. And again, I enjoy each sentence is something that just really, for me, gives me a good indication of who Wisperi is. And so I think you've done an excellent job there with that.
Thank you. One thing that I really love in MRPs is it's one of those things where people go, "Okay, I made it. Excuse me. Okay, I made a tune. Now I have to sit down and write the MRP. Like it's a job because you made a tune. Now you have to sit down and, oh, I gotta write the MRP." And it was never really like that for me on this character, because it's something that you can keep very simple. And one of my favorite things to do with MRPs is use quotes. I don't have a whole lot in hers right now, but a lot of the things in there is stuff that she's actually said, or currently statuses that have happened or something like that. But I find that's a really good way or a really good tip for writing MRPs if you're struggling. Keep it simple and RP the character for a little bit. You don't have to have a perfect MRP before you RP the character. Let the character take you where it wants, and then just take some dialogue from it and throw it in your MRP. That's always a great way to get familiar with your character.
I think that is excellent, excellent advice. And boy, I did not think that the Brawlers, is it maybe a quest down here? Or was that a Brawlers pub quote that flashed by there?
Oh, the your DBM from the pub?
Yes, it must have kicked on.
Oh no.
Alrighty, well, what we've got here, folks, is some more to go, and so we will come back with that and finish the first part here, and so we'll be right back with that. Alright, and we are back to finish up the appearance side of the MRP, and so we shall continue, and it says she is far more speed and aim than any other physical traits. Be aware of that. She takes her hits, but if you only RP strength and fighting abilities by level, don't bother. Even a child can shoot a gun. Being friendly is not one of her best traits. She isn't a dark and mysterious ERPer with no history or storyline. She's very closed with a lot of past. A tune several years old, and the way she is and looks is all from actual RP. Alpha is the Horse Rider mount. The horse may or may not have your character. What? Oh, I messed up there. Alpha is the War Strider mount. The horse may or may not have a name. Okay. As far as stealth goes, if you choose to see me when I'm stealth because you can in game, that is fine as long as your character would have that ability. If I see you in stealth and you do not want me to, then perhaps your toon needs a little more rogue training. Being sneaky is a skill. If you don't have it, neither does your toon. Sorry. If you're attempting something and you think you might not be as skillful as your toon, please send me a tell and we can discuss it. I'm not really that scary. Exceptions. If your stealth is RP'd in a manner that my skills would not detect, i.e. you would explain this to me, what is concealing you and how, then I will accept that. There are 3 different methods this character uses to conceal herself. Some would be capable of being seen, some would not. And there's some quotes here. I can see your soul at the edges of your eyes. It's corrosive, like acid. I look at you and I see your troubles. Okay, and then this is Wisperi. Lethal and elusive. She moves quickly into and out of combat. She is as unseen and deadly force on the battlefield. She can remain unseen, but her effects on the battlefield are felt by all. Keep an eye out. Which is great. Now, again, we have down here another website. And what is this your Tumblr site?
Yeah, I have my Tumblr on there, which my Tumblr has tons of pictures of what she looks like and all that jazz, of course. So there's tons on there. I do have a couple commission pieces on there. One that my friend drew, and one of our guild members drew that she is taking commissions, and she's fabulous. That's on there as well.
And who is that?
In the guild, that's going to be on Tumblr. It's going to be Sparky Tart. Swift Silver and Lilum are her 2 tunes in the guild. She does do commissions, and she's very good. She's very easy to work with, too.
Oh, great. And then we have the chain. And there's also a website here. And what is the chain?
The chain is something that I designed when I actually swapped her over to Alliance on this server. It's just kind of a fun thing to use that I invite all rogues on the server to use if you like, or just to, if you want to read over it and make it your own, you're more than welcome to do that as well. It's basically something that I wrote out because I felt like the underground and roguey part of the city wasn't very cohesive. That a lot of the rogues on the server RP rogues very well, but by themselves. And I feel that if you're going to be a sneaky RPer that works on information, then you should have an information chain as to where you got that information. So basically what that is, it's a series of ideas in RP prompts. It's a lot of NPCs in the city and a lot of places to leave things that if you wanted to find out information about somebody, this is how you would go about doing it and getting the information from people that you don't know, because a lot of things are word of mouth. So how I do that a lot of times is if somebody, if I were to send a letter to someone or something like that, mailboxes are always there, and letters are in your hand. They're tangible. They can be tracked and picked up. And if you're trying to be sneaky, that's not a trail you want to leave. One NPC that I love using in particular is the passed out dwarf in front of the keep, the drunk guy.
Right.
Anybody that RPs with me knows that I use that NPC for information all the time. He is one of her best informants because the hobos in the city are amazing. They will spill information for any amount of food or alcohol or whatever their vice may be. And they're always there, and they're always watching everyone else in the city. So a lot of times if somebody's trying to find out information for her or where she is, they go ask him. And I have no problem RPing any of those NPCs, or if there's like a specific loose brick in the city that she uses to hide things in. If people have questions or want to do that, I love RPing just random NPCs like that. There was one not too long ago where I see Lee Durin sent some of the people that work in the Brawlers pub to find someone. She was like, I don't know where they are. Ask the guards around the keep or something like that. They'll probably know. And so I put on a different MRP and I RP'd every single guard, and they had to find which guard knew the information they were looking for.
Great.
So they had to go from guard to guard in the city and in the keep and trying to bribe them for information and see who knew what. And it's a treasure hunt, and those are always fun.
You bet. That sounds wonderful. So folks, especially if you have a rogue character, or even if you don't, check out that site. I think it's got some great great tools there that you can use to help elevate your RP. That is great. And so when we get back, folks, we're going to look at Dorin's, her a little bit about her past, about her biography. So we'll be right back with that. All right, so we have Dorin's biography here. And so age is adult, younger than middle age though. And motto, trample the weak, hurdle the dead. Where did you come up with that?
Um, Oddly enough, a long time ago when I was really young, my mom and I were laughing about that motto because it was on the back of somebody's hockey jersey. And I thought it was really great for this character because although I play a lot of characters and some of them are very nice and very kind, she's not one of them. She's one that if you fall or lag behind, she's not going to stoop down to pick you up. Everybody that runs with her has to pull their own weight.
Well, except Turwinkle, right?
Well, yeah, he can ride on somebody's shoulders. That's not a problem.
Okay. Says the history here, her past is almost as her future, unknown to just about everyone except her and the poor people involved. There are only two truths to be found here, and again we've got this wonderful saying from Alexton Crome, and it says, nearly all of her history and who she is now is from RP. I did not write almost any of it myself. Most would only be found out in RP with her. And so I would imagine that's why this is pretty bare bones here. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's another part of reactionary RP. I did put a lot of descriptions and a lot of character stuff in here, but nearly all of that is just to sate OOC curiosity. It's not going to be found out through RP unless you get close to her, unless you really pay attention. And like I said, since there's 15 different MRPs and who knows what mask she's wearing that day, all of the information you could get could be false.
Okay.
People tend to forget that your character has the ability to lie.
Sure. And okay, so it says things you hope you don't hear. Travesty, Sakari, Sorel, and inquiries of joyous activities. Now, explain this a little bit, would you?
Sure. All of those names are part of lore that we have created for some of our tunes and some old guilds that have happened that's been adapted throughout the years and ages. That has to do with a little bit more dark RP. It's kind of creepy stuff. That's one of the things, especially for reactionary RP. If you have OOC concerns or limits, to whisper people, and we'll take stuff out. We'll make sure that we work with everybody. But those names are names that you do not want to hear because your character is not going to make it out in the same condition that they started in.
Oh, God.
It basically would it would precede something that OOC Lee I would ask if you are okay with being involved in a DM event in which I will begin to control your environment. And it's kind of it's horror RP. It's pretty creepy. It's got some creepy kids and some creepy demon kind of things and stuff like that. We have fun with it though. I have a creepy playlist for the Vent DJ and stuff if people want to come in and kind of be immersed. So if you like horror stuff, then it's a lot of fun. We do get a little bit gory and we get a little bit creepy, but that's part of the fun. And we RP a lot of different ways. So that would be things that you don't necessarily want to hear unless you want to be involved in something like that. And of course, I'm not just going to throw that kind of stuff at you.
Okay. Thank goodness. Alrighty. And lastly here, it says things for me to remember. 210, and it's tinted to near black with sorrows and logo engraved in gold at the base. What is that?
Those are OOC reminders for me that apparently suck because I have no idea what 2 out of 10 means. But apparently it was really important for me to remember. Maybe one day it'll click and I'll be like, oh yeah, and it'll be there, but it's not there right now. That's actually the second one. One of our main bartender in Sorrow's End, um, she drinks the same drink every time she goes down, and she drinks it in a low ball glass. So he has a specific glass that he made for her that is her glass only. So in order for me to remember how he described it, I typed it in there really quickly so I could RP it out later because I couldn't remember the second time, and I had to ask him exactly what it looked like.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Well, great. And so for me, I think this MRP is terrific, and I really think, uh, as I mentioned when we started, that it was enjoyable to read, and it really paints an excellent picture of who Durin is, and without giving, again, like you said, a lot of OOC knowledge to someone, and you really have to you get a sense of who you're talking to, and so I think that for the use of the MRP and why people should use it, I think is for this reason, is it allows you the opportunity to kind of see who you're talking to, but doesn't give out too much knowledge where you don't even need to talk to this person. Now I know I need all I need to know I've already read, so why RP? I think that you've made good use of this MRP, and I've really enjoyed reading it. So wonderful job here.
Well, thank you very much.
You bet. So, folks, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about Wisperi's history as far as how she came up with the tune and that sort of thing. So, we'll be right back with that. All right. And so, Doreen, how did you come up with the name for your rogue here?
Well, originally when I first made this tune, like I said, I was brand new to RP. I had no idea what it was at all. I I was on my main, and I was on my main tune on a PvP server, and I was an arena junkie. I was competitive player. I was reading everything. I was doing all that part of the game. PV, I raided. I did everything else other than RP, and I was getting a little worn out on it. And I had actually heard somebody make some sort of joke about RPing, and I had no idea what it was. So I started to look into it a little bit more, and I thought, well, maybe I'll just make a tune on an RP server and find out exactly what was going on. I picked a random RP server, and the first server that I picked was not very friendly, and I can't for the life of me remember what server it was, but nobody would help me, nobody would explain anything. Like, only two people were talking in trade, and I was like, well, let's just try again. So I picked another server, and it happened to be Moonguard. Um, I picked a random tune. I had no intentions with this tune when I made it. I was just looking into discovering what RP was. This is Wisperi is actually the first half of what my main's name is. So I just took part of that one and just named the tune and kind of went with it. Within like one or two, actually, I think like the first day or so, maybe the first couple days, I met someone that kind of took me under their wing and helped me out and helped get me started on exactly what RP was and let me follow them around and watch them a little bit. And within the first couple days that I had made the tune, I ended up in a reactionary RP scene in which I got caught and sold into slavery.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I had no idea what was happening. I didn't talk to the person at Osili at all, nothing. I just totally went with it and was brought into this guild. And within this guild is somebody that's now one of my best friends. And she kind of took me under her wing and helped me along everything. Um, and she's been great. She's definitely responsible for what I am today. But nearly everything about this tune has been written on her own. From day one, I went back and I wrote her childhood and like some backstory and stuff like that, but I didn't do that until this past year. I didn't go back and complete the first part of her life until this past year because everything that has happened in this tune and everything that she is now has come from actual RP. I did not go into RP with any type of preconceived notion or how I wanted the tune to be or anything like that. Didn't know anything. So everything has just kind of happened, and it's really been great because it's made the character. I did not make this character. Her experiences made her.
Well, that is great. And again, I really think that is a novel way to do it. And really, I think it makes your character come just alive. And so, well done with that. Now, how was her childhood? Did she have a happy childhood?
Um, no. And she did not. Um, but but that's okay. It's it was a good basis for setting the tone to what she became and how she reacted to a lot of the stuff that did happen to her. One of the things that I like to say all the time, and just part of character separation, is I am not my tune. I'm merely driving the vehicle that's already on the road. I don't control where the road goes. I just drive the car.
Oh, that's an excellent way to look at it. And folks, we're going to learn a little bit more about that down the road here. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about her current storyline and where we find her now. So we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, and we are back. And so, what are you doing currently as far as your storyline is concerned?
Well, currently she is the underboss of Sorrow's End. And as for, oh, I didn't cover the name part earlier, but she was married once upon a time. He's long gone, but Durin was actually the married name that she adopted, and I loved that name. I didn't even pick it. It was his character's last name, and I loved it. So that's kind of the name that she's used to assume in this position, because nobody knows that name. So it was very easy and it was very natural for her to just kind of assume that position of co-leadership of Sorrow's End. So basically, Sorrow's End is the workers of the Brawlers Pub. We all work under Bismo. She's just management, and most of the people that work there just work there. Bismo's still in charge and everything. It's not like we're claiming the land or anything like that. We're just employees. We just work here. So most of the time, if there are issues and everything like that, we do have the bouncers that we will use, but for the most part, our job is to de-escalate issues because it's our workplace. Fighting is not allowed in the Brawlers Pub, and most of
Which
the time, if it does break out,
now
well,
it
it's
is called
outside
the
of the
Brawlers
arena.
Pub, ma'am. Okay.
I know, outside of the arena,
Okay.
because the more stuff they break, like around the bar, we have to repair that and fix that, and that's just more money that Bismo's losing. He doesn't get happy when that happens.
Okay.
So most of the time, our jobs are to de-escalate. We'll try to separate the fight, have a drink, stuff like that. We don't fight fire with fire because that doesn't get anything done, or really just burns things. And Bismo's not happy about that either. So
All right. And so, how long have you guys been in the Brawlers Pub?
uh, I want to say a couple months now. I'm not sure, to be honest. Um, mm, No, I'm not really sure. I thought I had a date for a second, but I don't. But we've been down there a little while now. Most of our core for this guild has been on this server and several other servers for a long time. We have a really tight core. We're not somebody that has a guild master or somebody that has like officers. We don't really work that way. We have a good core and our characters have their jobs. So whenever guild decisions are made, if they're not made icily, they're made with everybody. Some of our friendships go back like over 10 years. So a lot of us have known each other for a really long time, and we work well together, and we kind of know our ins and outs. So when you join the guild, everybody's opinion counts. It's not reigned by one supreme ruler like the guild master has end all be all. That's never how we've worked OSELY.
Now,
So it tends to work out pretty well for us.
now, do you find that makes it easier to RP when you know someone so
I
well?
think that it does. Yeah, I think that it does. That mixed with our reactionary RP style makes it it makes it fairly drama free is really what it does, because then OOCly we're not afraid to approach each other. If we're like, hey, I think you're a jerk for doing that, then we can go, oh, I'm sorry, and it just happens. We don't have to worry about stepping on each other's toes so much because we're a very open, very blunt group of friends. There's never going to be a situation where somebody's afraid to say something to someone else, because of repercussions, and there's never a situation where someone is afraid of repercussions bleeding into the characters, because that doesn't happen with us because everything's reactionary RP.
Okay, well, great. So when we come back, we're going to find out a little bit about the person behind the tune here. And so we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, and so now one of my favorite parts of the interview is always kind of finding out a little bit about the person behind the screen. We try to break those stereotypes of what our peers are. Again, you always hear the story of, the RPer that lives in mom and dad's basement and doesn't have a job, and just is kind of a nerd in a way. And so we look to break those stereotypes, and one of those ways is finding out a little bit about the person behind the screen here. And so, Wisperi, what do you like to do outside of WoW?
Well, I'm actually a neckbeard, and I live in my parents' basement.
Okay, great.
I've been here for about 40 years. I like to play
Wonderful.
girl tunes, on a lot of places. um, I couldn't help
Great,
myself.
great.
I like to play a lot of different video games. I do run a Minecraft server as well. I wish I had more time for video games than what I do, but being ICLU management and stuff like that has taken a lot of time. I work more than 40 hours a week, so sometimes my time is not what I wish it to be. But I like to play a lot of different video games. This is actually the only game that I RP in. Um, I've never really tried to RP in another game. Now,
Oh,
maybe I
so
should.
so no Dungeons and Dragons experience, anything like that?
I have never played Dungeons and Dragons ever. I DM stuff in WoW, but I've never played Dungeons and Dragons. I wish, will somebody play with me? Somebody teach me how to play.
Oh, there you go,
I'm a
folks.
good nerd. I can be a nerd too.
Well, there you go, folks. Okay, other than video games, what do you like to do?
Well, I am kind of a nerd. I like my computers. I built the one that I'm actually playing on, and I work in kind of the tech field a little bit as well. I enjoy long walks on the beach and shopping. I like to travel. I actually live in Metro New York City area, so the city's kind of like right there. So I love going to the city and seeing stuff. I don't go to Broadway as much as I want to. I actually one of my degrees is in theater, which what kind of got me into RP was when I took a job that gave me a position that I could no longer be in that field. I needed another creative outlet, and this one just kind of came naturally to me. So.
Oh, well, great. So, have you been able to use any of that knowledge, theater knowledge, in DMing? Does it help you create scenes and whatnot?
I think it helps me a lot more in the reactionary RP kind of way. It took me a really long time to be able to create things more on my own rather than people giving me situations and doing it. One of the reasons that I started out and always loved reactionary RP is because that's less work on my part. The only thing I have to do is react. Great. I didn't have to think of a storyline. I didn't have to make sure everything comes together at the end. I don't have to map out everything as I go along. I just get in the roller coaster and I just scream. So that makes things a little bit easier on my part.
Well, fantastic. Well, excellent. So there you go, folks. I think that definitely shatters that stereotype completely. So well done. And so when we come back, we're actually going to get some advice from Wisperi to those new RPers out there and see what kind of advice she has for those folks. So we'll be right back with that. Alrighty. And so, Wisperi, what advice do you have for the person that's just coming into the game and wanting to RP, what advice do you have for them?
Um, I think that the best advice I could give you is just to kind of go, just to go ahead and do it. It's going to be scary because you're always going to feel like people are judging you, especially when you're writing, and you're going to have typos and you're going to write silly things that you go, oh, and you're going to look at it and but it's going to happen. That happens to the best of our peers. It happens to everybody. Um, One of the things that I do want to say is really more advice for the old RPers, for the seasoned ones. A lot of times when you get RPing and you find the niche and style that you like and the people that you like to RP with, people tend to get stuck in their ways, which is something that everybody just kind of has to watch because we get in that mindset or that mind frame where MRP is a perfect example. You look at somebody's MRP, and if it's blank or if it's got like two words in it, you move on. That person could have just made that tune. Looking at people's levels, that's actually one of the ways that when some of us random, we try to pick out the people who we think that we would get along RPing with on our mains. I have some level 1 tunes that I will run around and RP with people on, my friends as well, and a lot of the guildies, and the same people that are after our main tunes and whisper us all the time for RP and want to RP with us and everything like that all the time will completely ignore us if we're on a level 5 tune.
Oh.
We're the same people and we're the same RPers, but a lot of people just tend to not see that. Level doesn't mean anything in this game unless you want to try to stay a little more true, I guess, lore-wise, and or your experiences or something like that. But this game has such a willing suspension of disbelief and such a creative aspect to it, even lore-wise, the way Blizzard changes lore here and there. Um, you can't really tell somebody they can't do something at level 10 when it goes against lore, when the game is mailing you dragons. Um, when this game mails you in a mailbox your mounts, you really can't tell somebody that they can't do something. So it's okay for people to be creative. As long as they have some sort of logic to it and can explain it, that's always been my role. If you pull a rabbit out of your pocket and I OOCly am trying to understand, and I want to be like, oh, that's really cool. How did you do that? And if you want to give me that information, that's great. I would like them to have some sort of logical. Oh, well, I'm just magic. That's logic in this game. Magic happens in this game a lot. So it's really discouraging to see people get shut down so quickly for their RP, and it's something that you really just kind of have to get over. Some people are new. Some people need to be kind of taught the ways. Everybody was new once, and it's not that big of a deal to take somebody under your wing and say, "Hey, if you have questions, let me know," or here is something that you can go watch to help better your RP, or hey, I know this really great guy Turwinkle that makes videos on YouTube that could probably have like some good advice on it for you if you want to check it out. It'll help you along making your MRP and doing that kind of stuff. Throwing somebody a bone like that, just a little bit of information, goes a really long way when you're new.
Yes, exactly. And I think that Turwinkle guy is pretty awesome. So uh, definitely folks should check him out. Well, that is great advice, and I
Nothing like a shameless plug.
that is really good advice. I think not only to the new players, but to the older RPers as well. I think you make some very valid points there. Uh, be on the lookout not only for those folks that are new and need a hand, but again, do not limit yourself to just RPing with your circle of friends. Extend that out, widen your vision, and you'll see that you may run across some amazing RP out there. So wonderful advice. And folks, when we come back, we're going to see what kind of future may lie for Wisperi. So we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, folks, and we are back. And so, Wisperi, what do you think the future holds for you?
Well, I'm not really sure because most of the time I don't plan it.
Right?
um, but I mean, as far as it's going right now, the Brawlers Pub has been pretty cool. It's pretty fun. I like to have some random DM events with people. Um, I hear it in my head every time it happens, and this is so nerdy of me, but anytime we get into a situation or like people step in that are RPing with us and stuff like that, where I can see a DM event could happen right here, I hear the music in Pokemon, the battle music when you're running through the grass and you stumble upon something, and it does the swirl on the old style swirl on the screen with the music. That's what clicks on my head whenever I see it happen. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot of DM events and stuff like that happening coming up. A lot of them, as long as they're not like a specific storyline ones kind of deal or something like that, that somebody's planned out and we're just kind of executing for them. Anybody that walks by or anybody that is surrounded, you just got pulled into a DM event. As long as you're okay with that OOC lead, just come have fun with us. There's a lot of RP down there, and it's been really fun kind of hubbing down there right now. So I'm not really sure what's going to be happening in the next coming months, but I know that I will be certainly RPing, and I'm excited to find out.
Well, I imagine whatever it's going to be will end up being a lot of fun because you've been just a blast to talk to, and I know you've been a lot of fun RPing with. I know Turwinkle has gotten the chance to RP with you just a little bit. He did give you a kitten, and at one of the market events, and it was hilarious. Whisper didn't really know what to do with the with the cat.
She definitely walked around the city with it like held out at arm's length, walking around with this. She's not a fan of animals. So it was just in her glove, like trying to meow at her and like lick at her while she was like holding her arm out, like just staring at people in slight horror. But it's happy and alive right now. It is being taken care of. It's fat and happy and in a warm room right now. Just
Okay.
not her room.
Uh, okay, because Mr. Tibbs did say something to the contrary, but I'm glad to hear from from source that the kitten is doing well. So excellent.
Puddin' is Puddin's just fine.
Wonderful. And it really has been such a joy and a pleasure to talk with you tonight about RP, and more specifically about your RP. I think you just do a fantastic job, not only for yourself, but for the community around you. So thank you very much for taking the time tonight to answer all of Turnwinkle's pestering questions.
Of course, thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.
You bet. And so, folks, we will see Turnwinkle back at the Chillwind camp with his final thoughts on this wonderful and fantastic interview. So we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, folks. Well, we made it safe and sound back to the Chillwind camp, and boy, Turwinkle, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
Sure.
You bet. So let's give Wisperi a lovely thank you, sir.
I am in your debt.
We certainly are. And so, folks, if you liked this episode, click that like button. If you'd like to comment on this episode or on any of our previous episodes, please do so below. Let us know what you liked, and you know what? Let us know what you didn't. And finally, if you'd like to subscribe, well, we would love to have you, so hit that subscription button tonight. Well, Turwinkle, excellent job as always, sir. And Turwinkle, we will see you next time.
Farewell.
Farewell, Turwinkle. Farewell.